Hey you guys, it's your girl T and I'm here for another recap of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We had a good old funky time on Twitter this past Sunday. I was retweeted over 200 times. I kept everybody in stitches. I had all types of jokes. So now it's time for the recap that you guys have been waiting for. So the opening scene starts with Kenya and Lawrence, and they're coming down for breakfast, and they're basically eating fruit, and they're talking about what happened the night before at the dinner and how Portia is supposedly Cordell's beard. And Kenya then makes a sly remark by saying that, she has to eat really light and she has to, stay fit because she's not trying to leave the island looking like Phaedra. Now, mind you, Phaedra just had a baby 6 months ago. And that is why on Twitter I said that Kenya's manufactured body looks like shit. I refuse to give any woman props on her body. If you have to have breast implants, ass implants, liposuction, and all that mess for you to feel good about yourself, I don't give women like that props. So for y'all who was trying to come at me and say I was mean for saying that her fake manufactured body looks like shit, y'all can kick rocks. I don't give two shits what y'all say because most of y'all are hypocrites anyways. Y'all will put somebody on a pedestal like Kenya, whose body is clearly fake, and then go in on Phaedra, who's losing her weight naturally. When the average woman has a baby, they don't drop their weight like that. Women like Kim Kardashian, who go from having an 8-pound baby to the next month, now they're back to a size 4. They get that way because they go through plastic surgery, they get liposuction, they have dietitians and everything else. But the average mother, the same amount of time it takes for you to gain weight to have that baby is the same amount of time it takes for you to lose weight. After I had my youngest son, it took me about 9 months to get back to my original figure. I will give Portia props all day on her body and on her shape before I ever give props to Kenya, because Portia's body is natural. That's her natural shape. She works out. She eats well. Just like I will give Phaedra props on her body because she just had a baby. And to me, she looks fine for just having a baby 6 months ago. So Kenya needs to get over herself. And y'all will give women like that props who have fake bodies. All you're doing is lowering the self-esteem of young girls out here. I would never give a woman props whose body has been manufactured. I refuse to do that. I mean, let's be real. How many stories have I done on my channel about girls running to go get butt injections because they want to have an ass like Kenya, or an ass like Nicki Minaj, or an ass like whatever celebrity? You got too many girls out here dying trying to look like these fake images when they should just be happy with their natural selves. So that's why I said that Kenya's manufactured body looks like shit, because I'm not about to give nobody props who can clown somebody else when your ass had low self-esteem and went under the knife not once but several damn times to fix your flaws. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, Kenya has a full itinerary. She wants everybody to go to these caves in Mexico. They're going to go, visit the caves and go swimming and everything. And the couples are in different vans. So Nene's in the van with Apollo and Phaedra and Portia. And they're talking about, what happened the night before at the dinner. And Nene's saying that she liked the whole, husband swap thing. And they're making jokes saying that, she's going to go with Apollo. And then Greg's going to go with Phaedra. And she's telling Apollo, you better put on your high heels because I'm tall. And Greg is like, Apollo don't need no high heels because I'm short and I love climbing that tree. Greg had me cracking up this whole night. I don't know. Greg was funny today. He was actually coming more out his shell. He wasn't just, being Nene's shadow. So it was funny to hear, Greg crack jokes and stuff like that. So in the next fan, we have Kenya, Todd, Kandi. We also have Cynthia and Peter, okay? So they're all talking about the wedding thing, and Kenya's making all these little comments. She's like, Kandi got a winner, and Todd seems like such a cool dude. And Kandi's looking at Kenya like, bitch, I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up talking about my man. Now, you all know Kandi don't play when it comes to her boo, Todd. And it's almost like Kenya's just one of them women to me. She just comes off as just extremely thirsty. She's constantly putting herself into conversations. She's constantly wanting to share all this marriage advice or, relationship advice, but yet and still she's single. She supposedly has this African prince that no one has ever seen, but yet and still she wants to dish, advice to everybody. Well, then they start talking about Mama Joyce and how Mama Joyce still doesn't like Todd. And Todd is telling Kandi that, what, you need to get some balls. You need to confront your mother, take her to counsel and do what you have to do. But, we need to get this fixed. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of stressing. I'm tired of her being disrespectful. Peter's saying a little bit of things, but it's mainly Kenya, kind of egging on the situation. You can tell Kandi feels uncomfortable, with where the conversation is going, and she doesn't really want to talk about it. But Todd is kind of getting egged on by Kenya, and Todd is just steadily going, and I just find the whole situation, it was just kind of uncomfortable, and I felt like Todd really shouldn't have said anything because, one, y'all are not that close with Kenya, Cynthia, or Peter. They're friends, but you can tell there's still that little bit of, you know, something there where they're not that close. And I think something as personal as talking about personal relationships with Mama Joyce, that should be left between Kandi and Todd. That shouldn't have been discussed in the van with people who really don't care. And to me, you have to remember that a lot of folks like that mentality, misery likes company. I feel like Kenya kept instigating the situation, trying to get dirt out of them, because it's like she wanted to see how truly miserable Todd and Kandi were, so that way she felt better about her own situation. So moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, everybody gets out the truck, and as they're walking down the steps, Greg starts screaming. This man damn near shit in his Depends. He's like, oh my God, a snake! And there's this big, disgusting boa constrictor. It's on the ground. It's clearly eating something because its stomach is fat as hell. It's trying to swallow a rabbit or whatever the hell it caught. And Greg was just scared out of his mind. Everybody starts screaming and freaking out. And Kenya's like, you know, it's not a big deal. I've had bigger boa constrictors than that in the bedroom. I'm gonna need you not to use that analogy, because if you are really fucking dicks as big as boa constrictors, that means your ass has no walls. In my K. Michelle voice. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, they're all in this swimming hole, and Kenya calls it the fountain of youth. And if you dip in there, you know, you're gonna just automatically get younger and feel more refreshed. So she starts stripping off her clothes, and then she's down to this yellow bikini, and everybody's just looking at her like, you know, Kenya just wants so much attention. She's like, you know, everybody get in with me. And everybody's just standing there like nobody knows what to do, nobody is moving. And Portia makes a comment that, you know, all eyes are on Apollo because of the whole situation that happened last year when they was on vacation, and how Apollo picked up Kenya and jumped in the pool. And Apollo's trying hard not to look at Kenya. It's so crazy. And Apollo's, you know, you could tell he wants to get into the water. And Phaedra's like, well, I don't want to get in. Apollo's, well, I want to get in. They're kind of going back and forth. So then finally Phaedra's like, you know what, fuck it. If Apollo's going to get in there, I'm going to get in there with my husband. So Apollo gets in there. Phaedra gets in there, and then Portia gets in there. They're all in there swimming and stuff. Kandi eventually gets in there. Todd doesn't get in there, and Cynthia and Peter didn't get in there. So they're all just kind of swimming and everything else. You can just tell it's just really, really contrived, and that Kenya wants so much attention. I don't understand why these women allow Kenya to, you know, make them feel some type of way about their bodies. Because like I said, you know, all these women, you know, these are their natural shapes. You shouldn't allow anybody who's had that much work on them to make you feel insecure. So then they all take a picture and everything. And then Kenya starts walking off. And as she's walking up the steps, she says something to Apollo. And she's like, you know, why don't you go down there and go take a picture? You didn't take a picture from that angle. And Apollo's like, well, no, I already took enough pictures. And then Kenya starts walking up the steps all sexy and stuff. And the camera zooms in on her butt. And then they zoom back on Apollo. And you can see Apollo looking at Kenya as she's walking up the steps. And it was so crazy because it's like, you don't even see Apollo looking at his wife like that. It's like he was just longing to go follow Kenya back up to her hotel room and go hit it or do something. Because it's like you don't even see him and Phaedra, you know, with that same connection. So it was just really, really strange. But moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, Kenya decides to invite the ladies to go see some Mexican shamans. These shamans basically specialize in fertility treatments because Kenya wants to have a baby really bad, and because she's been having a lot of issues with her eggs, she wants to go to the shaman. So she decides to invite all the women, but she does not invite Phaedra. She doesn't want Phaedra to come. And you know, Portia's, you know, this Christian woman like Phaedra, and she said she doesn't believe in witchcraft and voodoo, and she doesn't want to be involved in that. So she decides to join Phaedra in the pool, and then they start kind of talking about the situation with Marlo and what happened at the little event, and they're just having their own little gossiping section. And once again, you know, Phaedra is calling Kenya all types of whores and sluts and everything else, but you know, never blaming her man for any of his actions. So moving on to the next scene. So then in the next scene, Kenya, Miss Lawrence, Nene, Cynthia, Kandi, they're all there with the shamans, and Kenya starts crying about how she really wants a child, and you know, she starts opening up about how she had a boyfriend once upon a time and she was really in love with him, but he wasn't ready for children, and how, you know, she decided to wait until she was 35, and the fact that, you know, she's so much older now and she can't have kids, she regrets it. And then Nene talks about having her first child at 22 and how hard it was for her, and then Kandi talks about having her daughter and how she wishes that she could have been married first, so that way her daughter would experience having a father and being a daddy's girl. And Cynthia's looking at all these bitches like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not trying to really be involved in this because I'm not trying to have no more kids. And I'm Team Cynthia on this one. I have 2 kids, and that is plenty enough for me. I have no plans on having any more kids. I don't want to be bothered with any more kids. I'm not trying to start over. I'm not trying to change no diapers. Mama gotta have a life too, okay? So I'm with Cynthia on this one. Cynthia backed the hell back from that smoke. She was like, I'll be damned if I end up getting pregnant again. Cynthia is not trying to mess up that model body. Stop the modeling checks from coming in. I don't blame you, boy. I'm totally Team Cynthia on that one. And I'm glad she stepped back from that damn smoke. She wasn't trying to breathe in none of that shit that shaman was blowing out towards them. That whole scene was crazy, but I will say it was good to see Kenya open up and be more honest about her situation and actually come off as human. Supposed to being condescending and conniving and everything else, she actually came off as more human here. You know, Nene wasn't really too much buying it, but Nene did allow her to cry and, you know, basically give her a shoulder to lean on. So I thought that scene was pretty touching. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, Peter decides to get all the house husbands together. So he decides to go down to the bar. He invites Apollo and Todd and Greg. They're all down there talking and swapping peach stories and everything else. And then in walks in Kenya and Miss Lawrence. And they're looking like, why y'all here? Why y'all not upstairs with the ladies? So Kenya comes and she's like, you know, what are you guys doing? And they're getting ready to smoke cigars. So Kenya takes the cigar and she dips it in Peter's, you know, drink. And Miss Florence is like, why are you doing that? And she's like, you know, because you're supposed to be able to suck and pull. And, you know, she's making all these little sexual innuendos. And then she starts asking about why the rest of the guys didn't get into the pool. And Apollo was saying that, you know, the water was real cold, but, you know, it was okay, but it was just real cold. And Peter was like, I just didn't want to get in. And then Kenya's like, oh, well, you worried about shrinkage? And Peter's like, no, boo, even on my best day, you never have to worry about shrinkage with me. Kenya is just so inappropriate with other people's husbands. There's no reason for her to be talking about shrinkage, penises, or anything else with anybody else's husband. I just feel like she's just a little bit too comfortable, but I like the way how Peter kind of put her back in her place without being, you know, overly messy and rude. He just kind of laughed it off and put her back in her place. So then after that, Kenya decides that she wants to talk to Apollo one-on-one. She's been plotting ever since she got there to have a one-on-one conversation with him about the rumors that he's so-called spreading about her all over Atlanta. Apollo's scared to go talk to her, so Peter's like, Todd, you need to go with him so she don't start nothing. And they're talking, and Apollo sounds like this little schoolboy. He has like this little kid voice. He's like, Todd, man, don't leave me. You know, she's always trying to do stuff to me, man. And Todd's like, I'm not going to leave you, brother. I'm going to be right here by you. And I'm like, you guys are just so over dramatic. How old are we? Is this junior high or these grown adults who are all damn near in their 40s? And Kenya comes up and Kenya's like, you know, Todd, get away from here. I need to talk to him. He's grown. You know, why are you trying to protect him? Stop being a little squirt. So then finally, Todd is like, you know, Apollo, are you good? Do you want me to stand right here in between y'all? What do you want me to do? So Apollo's like, you know what? It's all good. Just go ahead and walk off. So then they go and sit on the couch and they start talking and going back and forth. And as they're on the couch, Kenya's like, you know, I don't appreciate the things that you were saying about me. You're making it seem like, you know, like I was trying to hit on you and I was trying to have sex with you. And Kenya's like, if I wanted to have sex with you, if I offered you sex, trust me, you would have hit it. And Apollo's like, you know, well, yeah, you're a fine woman. You have a nice body. You know, any man would want to have sex with you. And I'm sitting here like, why are you complimenting this woman so hard when your wife is right upstairs? Why are you talking about her body and her good looks? I mean, the whole conversation between Kenya and Apollo is just straight up inappropriate. And this is all part of Kenya's plan. It's like everything she does just comes off as conniving and contrived. You know, and I just feel like that conversation just did not need to happen whatsoever. And they're going back and forth, and they're just basically flirting and laughing with each other. Lord, and then out the blue, here comes Phaedra. Phaedra comes on down there with the damn head wrap on. Her hair is tied up, and she looks like somebody's mama. And like I said on Twitter, Phaedra looks like somebody's mama who got a call from their school that their child been acting up all day. She walked in there like she was Apollo's mother as opposed to his wife. She was like, excuse me, what's going on here? What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing talking? And then they both just kind of look, you know, frozen and scared like, we've been caught. You know, it's just so dramatic. And then the scene ends and we have to wait until next week to see what happens. You know, so this episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta was definitely messy. A lot of tea was being spilled. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. So make sure y'all tune in. I'll be back with another recap. And make sure that you follow me. I am @LovelyT on Twitter. See you guys next week. Deuces.